So there's many other factors that are contributing to the food price. It's not just looking at the fuel price, which has been a contributory factor, but it's also the lagged impact of fuel prices on food prices, because those two are interlinked. And we are seeing now ongoing increases in food inflation, which actually impact more on our lower income earners than our higher income earners. So what you see with the report this month is that the lowest earning 10% of South Africa is actually experiencing an inflation rate of 10%, significantly higher than the overall inflation rate represented by the CPI. And the highest earning 10% is sitting at around 7.4% in CPI inflation. So you really start to see how that food price number is weighing much more heavily on the lowest and hardest earning employees in the country.
Yeah. So do you anticipate that the decreases that we've been seeing in the fuel price are going to be short-lived, especially when you see that the OPEC plus nations have decided to tighten output, oil output, and also our weaker currency?
So the oil price has moderated for a little while, and that might still continue to impact on the food price for a little bit longer. But if that turns, obviously, we start to see the reversal in terms of some of the improvements in the transport inflation, which then feeds into the food price inflation as well. On the upside, what we are seeing in the market is that we've kind of reached a peak in the overall inflation rate. The peak is reached now at Q3 2022, and we're expecting moderation going into the last quarter of the year and in the early quarters of next year. So maybe things are going to get better.
We do hope so. So, Zandile, in your view, are we yet seeing the effects of higher interest rates on curbing inflation? Because we're always told that the reason why the Reserve Bank raises interest rates is to deal with inflation.
Yes, so the impact of higher interest rates does happen at a lag. And by the Reserve Bank's own forecast, we expect CPI inflation to be below the 6% mark, but around middle of next year of 2023, and to close off the year of 2023 around 5.3%. So it's going to take a bit of time, but it will begin to show that improvement. And the other impact is around whether we will see further interest rate increases. And that does depend on what we're seeing now. So we're still above the inflation target, which does leave some room for further increases. We also are monitoring what happens in the USA and what the Fed does. So if there's further increases in the USA, it does put more pressure on our own Reserve Bank to do the same.
Yeah, just unpack that for us a little bit. Why is it that what the US Fed does in terms of interest rate moves is so important and so impactful to South Africa? And why do we almost automatically also then have to raise our rates as well?
So the relationship is around capital flows and the currency relationship. So a lot of our trade is happening in dollar form. And if our exchange rate with the dollar is high, or where we are seeing that the dollar is much more expensive against the rand, it does create challenges for our economy. So we would like to see a better balance around that. And what has strengthened the US dollar of late is a high interest rate. Capital has flowed to America because people can earn more on that currency because of the interest rates. So if we want to bridge the gap and have the stable capital flows that we have seen, we need to promise something back to investors in terms of higher interest rates as well.
Okay, no, thank you for that explanation. Before I let you go, next week is the midterm budget. As an economist, what are you looking out for?
The expenditure pressures are definitely there, and we are going to be looking at how the government reins in on that. Because we are experiencing a lot of challenges as an economy, and the likelihood of a tax break is limited. So we need to probably monitor our expenditure side in order to maintain fiscal stability. that's what we'll be looking forward to next week.
Excellent. Zandile, thank you very much for your time. That was Zandile Makhoba. She's an economist at Liberty.